Cynthia. The Sinnoh region champion is widely considered one of the strongest champions in the Pokemon franchise. Having her ace as the pseudo-legendary Garchomp, along with phenomenal support, it's no wonder Cynthia has a plethora of noteworthy battles under her belt across the franchise. Appearing across multiple regions at their end through some sort of important battle, you'd think Cynthia would be a terrifying trainer to battle against. But just how strong is Cynthia? Today we find that out by taking a look at her appearances across the Pokemon franchise and analyzing her accomplishments, titles, Pokemon she has owned, and a few other factors that really delve into what makes Cynthia a noteworthy trainer across Pokemon. Starting off with the games, Cynthia has appeared across several games in this series. Starting off with Generation 4, Cynthia is the champion of this region, which would mean in Sinnoh, she at the very least has completed the entire gym challenge. We also know, seeing that she is the champion, she had defeated the Elite Four, which means that she already has built up quite the reputation in Sinnoh. No surprise here, seeing in these games she has Garchomp, Roserade, Milotic, Lucario, Spiritomb, and either Gastrodon or Togekiss, depending on if it's Diamond, Pearl, or Platinum. Her team in Pokemon Platinum, which is the variation with Togekiss, is one of the most well-rounded teams in Pokemon history, with things such as Milotic and Lucario to patch Garchomp's weaknesses, as well as Spiritomb, which has 0 weaknesses in these games. It's clear to see how Cynthia managed to triumph over the Sinnoh region, since between her ace Garchomp being a monster in this gen, as well as the synergy in her team composition, how would anyone struggle to take this team down? Going on to Black and White, Cynthia appears in the post-game of your journey with a team of Pokemon in the mid-70s. Her team consists of Spiritomb, Electros, Braviary, Milotic, Lucario, and Garchomp. While not as strong as her team from the last generation, there are still several threats through options such as Braviary, Lucario, and Garchomp that make this team a nightmare to take on. In these games, Cynthia ends up actually having 2 Pokemon without any weaknesses, which on paper actually makes her team terrifying to play around, especially when considering the fact that Cynthia's team has extremely well-rounded coverage in this generation, with almost her entire roster being variations of 4 attack movesets besides Spiritomb. And the only Pokemon that had a repeat type option for moves would be Braviary, who has Retaliate and Crush Claw. The only benefit to this team that you guys will have when taking her on would be the fact that all of her offensive threats lean more to the physical side of things, with Lucario being mixed, while Garchomp, Braviary, and Electros all being fairly physical. This overall really wouldn't make a huge difference in the battle, however, since Cynthia just has that strong of an offensive team that she can easily offensively beat any threats to things such as Garchomp or Lucario in order to obtain a win here. In Black and White 2, Cynthia trades out Electros and Braviary for Togekiss and Glaceon, going back to a very balanced team. Glaceon and Togekiss help with the only issue I mentioned previously, being that Cynthia now has some special offense on her team. With Glaceon as well, Cynthia has a strong option around grass types other than her normal flying type Pokemon. This will help Garchomp offensively have a strong matchup against teams, especially since she doesn't need to risk Fire Blast if she does kill off any opposing grass types first. Speaking of Fire Blast, we see Cynthia's team have their move pools polished up a bit, seeing Pokemon such as Milotic having more optimal movesets with the addition of any recovery thanks to Rest, or Lucario now having a Steel type move in its arsenal. This team definitely has a strong, balanced aspect to it, with strong switch-ins and offensive options to practically everything in the games. The biggest weakness Cynthia would really have here would be fighting, due to the addition of Glaceon. However, with an immunity in Spiritomb, as well as offensive counterplay thanks to Togekiss, and even Lucario with Psychic, her team doesn't really worry too much about this weakness she has started to build up. Overall, her team in these games actually could rival her Platinum team as her strongest variation of her team yet. Her team used in the Pokemon World Tournament of Black and White 2 replaces Milotic for Roserade and optimizes the moveset significantly even from the other teams she has used. The greatest downside to this team, however, is the loss of Milotic, which was phenomenal for switching in against Ice types for Garchomp. Other than this though, Cynthia has actual competitive movesets on her Pokemon, with things such as Focus Sash and Swords Dance on Garchomp in order to pressure teams with very low effort, or Life Orb Lucario with 4 attacks in order to break past opposing Pokemon. While I mentioned earlier she struggles a lot more with Ice types, Glaceon still can resist at least, and with its naturally high special defense stat, it can most likely try to beat other Ice types of Shadow Ball. Also, if that wasn't enough, Lucario can close combat or Stone Edge every Ice type in the game at this point, so offensively speaking, she definitely still can beat Ice types. While this is probably her weakest team so far synergy-wise, due to the strength of her movesets and the fact this team actually has items on it, I'd say this team definitely can at least hold a candle to her other builds from the previous battles you'd be taking her on in. Finally, we get to her Alolan team. Her team in Alola consists of Milotic, Spiritomb, Garchomp, and Togekiss. The team is used for the battle tree, and she has 2 sets for each, so it's a bit difficult to go over the specifics here. However, thanks to the fairy typing being added to this generation, her team actually, besides Lucario, likes a steel move entirely and has no real coverage around fairies. It's funny though, because one of her Lucario actually lacks a steel move as well. Other than fairies, since Cynthia only brings 2 to 4 Pokemon depending on the format you take her on in, Cynthia can actually potentially be fairly weak to a plethora of other typings, such as electric, ice, or even ground, due to the fact that while only Lucario is weak to ground, a lot of her Pokemon struggle to beat ground types. If Cynthia could use all 5 at once, I'd argue you could make a case for this team being saved. But overall, I think this actually is a fairly lackluster combination of Pokemon as pairs of 2 to 4. This would be, in my eyes, her weakest team overall, even with the buff to Togekiss by receiving the fairy typing in this team. Her team quality of movesets and synergy is significantly lost in this generation, leaving her with a hollow shell of what her team once was. Now that we've actually broken down her teams, what has Cynthia actually done in the games? There isn't really much recorded for her achievements, however we do know that she is one of a handful of trainers in the entire region who actually takes on Team Galactic. Seeing the strength of Cyrus and the other Team Galactic heads, it shows how strong Cynthia is by willing to try to stand up to them in general in this region. The only other trainers we see even attempt this are Looker, your rival, and the playable characters. While we don't actually see any of these battles play out that Cynthia does against Team Galactic, we do still see her even attempt to help out, which is more than any other notable trainer such as Gym Leaders and Elite Four do in these regions, which gives her points in that category in my eyes at least. Other than helping you try to stop Team Galactic though, Cynthia actually lacks anything else noteworthy in the games. She isn't like Giovanni, who is actively trying to take over anything. She already established her goals by defeating the Sinnoh League prior to the start of your adventure. Cynthia in the anime has actually done a lot more on her journey. Cynthia has taken on several trainers such as Aaron, Flint, and Lucian of the Elite Four without much effort. She also has been seen even taking on Palmer of the Sinnoh Frontier, and Caitlyn of the Black and White Elite Four, with the first being inclusive and the second ending in a draw. The fact that Cynthia has been able to take on such noteworthy trainers in the Sinnoh region without even revealing her entire team of Pokemon already should give a ton of merit to her strength as a trainer. Since while we don't know how many she used against Palmer and Caitlyn, we do know at least against Aaron, Flint, and Lucian she participated in a full 6v6 battle and didn't show her full team. We have only seen a few Pokemon, such as Gastrodon, Glaceon, and Garchomp being showcased in this region, with Glaceon not being shown across any of those battles against the other Elite Four trainers, as its debut was in Unova. Cynthia, also similarly to the games, helped take on Team Galactic, with a much more active role in these battles. Cynthia in the anime ended up actually participating in important battles here, whereas in the games themselves, she was never really seen taking on anyone of note. Finally, before we go over how strong Cynthia actually was as a whole, I want to cover Pokemon generations again. Cynthia didn't really have a noteworthy showcase in this series. We yet again see Cynthia being one of the only trainers taking on Team Galactic. However, in this series, Cynthia actually ends up being too late to do anything, since we see a lack of anyone else to aid Cynthia this time. Cyrus ends up actually achieving his goals of finding Giratina, and Cynthia ends up missing out on being able to stop Cyrus from going into the Distortion World. While Cynthia still had the guts to actually even try to take on Team Galactic, we don't really see any showcase of things such as her battles or even any other Pokemon on her roster besides Garchomp. Now that we've covered Cynthia across all the regions and forms of media she has been a part of, how strong was Cynthia actually? We see constantly that Cynthia has taken on some of the most noteworthy trainers across the regions she has participated in. In the anime, she takes on several Sinnoh Elite Four members in rematches to defend her title, with success time and time again. We know Cynthia is also one of the only trainers who feels able to do anything to help prevent Team Galactic from their goals, and she also has the team to back her up. Cynthia, despite being the Sinnoh region champion, has also taken on roles in other regions such as Unova and Alola, while still showcasing her skill across both of these regions. We also have went over how well-rounded her team is, since even across other champions, most of them at least have one other obvious weakness due to things such as Steven and Lance having near monotype teams, or champions such as Leon and Blue having at least one very obviously exploitable weakness, such as Leon being weak to ground and dragon, meanwhile Blue is very weak to rock and ground. Cynthia's greatest team weakness is Ice, which is still accounted for by things such as Milotic and Lucario, which in my eyes gives Cynthia one of the strongest teams in the entire games. Overall, I'd argue Cynthia could probably even rival some of the greats such as Red, due to how strong her team actually would be, especially for the generation it was introduced, making Cynthia easily one of the strongest trainers in existence. Well, that pretty much wraps up this analysis on how strong Cynthia is. As I mentioned in the Giovanni episode, we may possibly cover the Adventures manga separately, so I hope you guys will stay tuned for that video. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and comment below who you guys would like to see in the next episode of this series. So with that said, thank you to everyone for watching the video. Huge thanks to my phenomenal team and the amazing art done each week by Danny the Demon. I couldn't do all this without them. If you all enjoyed the video and want to see more content like this, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Be sure to leave a comment too, as it really helps us out. I also do other content on my Twitch, where I stream Genshin Impact, Mystic Zora, where I do Pokemon Let's Plays and other gaming content, and of course MysticSage, where I do all anime content. Right now, I'm focusing on Inuyasha and Yashahime, so if you're interested in that, be sure to check it out. If you'd like to support me even further than that, check out my Patreon. Whether it's a $1 tip to get early thumbnail access, or the $10 tier to get cool perler bead charms and a shoutout. There's tons of reasons to join today. These lovely people did, and I thank them all so much for their support. It really means the world to me. I think I'm gonna wrap this up though. I'm Mr. Gumbrion, and I will see you all next time with some more amazing Pokemon content.